think that is a interesting point where you grew up religious and a bunch of shitty things happened and now you're not religious because you feel like there's not a world in which God would allow those things to happen to you. And then on the flip side, there are a lot of people that didn't grow up religious at all, and then some really shitty things happen to them, and it's the opposite effect, where they now find solace in having faith in God, and they use that to guide them into their next steps and find comfort in that.
Very, very good, very great point.
Obviously, what drove me into being agnostic was the whole concept of, like, I just feel like religion as a whole should not be eradicated or disrespected. I feel like a religion, regardless of its damaging concepts in history and its history as a whole and the way it has functioned, the way it has divided people and societies, I just feel like it's a necessity. I feel like some people rely on religion. I feel like people actually believe in its concepts.
It is true that you do not have to be religious to be a moral person.
Right.
Right? We all can agree to that. We all can understand that you do not have to be religious to be a moral person. There's 3 people in this room that attest to that.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And there are people, right, who have strayed from the ideals that they so proclaim to lead. And they do adopt a undue and improper sense of superiority over people, not only outside of their respective church, but also within.
And that's what drove me away initially from God, religion, all of those different sorts of things. Like you said in the earlier, a couple minutes ago, going through stuff when you're a child,
Right.
And not being a particularly religious family, you aren't pushed to sway toward the way of prayer when things go bad. You are left to your own devices, and you're left to make your own decisions. And very early on, my decision was, well, if there is a God, he's really fucked up because he's making a family suffer, and therefore I believe that he's not there. My mother had cancer, stage 4 colon cancer, very large tumor in her colon. And me growing up, I was like, there's no God, because why the fuck would he do that to us? We didn't deserve that. None of us deserve that. Me and my sister, we have to grow up potentially without a mother. She survived, thank God. But during that whole time, there wasn't a single moment where I was like, fucking,
Right.
Help me out.
Right.
It was more of a, hey, if you're there, fuck you. And that persisted for a lot of years. And
I have a question then. I have a question. Stage 4 is serious.
Correct.
Would you not think?
There are 2 parts to this.
Right. I'll let you finish.
No, it actually directly goes into what you were saying. My mother isn't religious, but she believes in God. She doesn't have a denomination of religion. She's not part of any type of anything.
Deist.
Yes. And every day she prayed to God. And she did. And we never knew that. But because that's not something that wasn't in her belief set, was to tell me what to do.
It's really interesting because your mother did something that Jesus said.
Correct.
And it was to, if you pray in the deepest part of your closet.
Yes.
And anti-theists, atheists will argue as that being keep all religion out of public life. No, what Jesus was meaning there was do not start praying
until you
for
need it.
Adulation
Yeah.
and adoration of others. If you're doing it to get attention, you're doing it for the wrong reason.
Right. And so years later, she had her surgeries, radiation, chemo, all these things. She overcame it, removed this big fat fucking tumor from her colon. Great. That's fantastic. A couple years later, something like that, 6 years later, something, she develops lung cancer. But during her first round of cancer, she quit smoking. She did all these things. She was trying to be better, and she developed lung cancer. And to everyone's astonishment, the first time she went in for radiation, it was gone. There was not in her lung anymore. And they said it has completely died. It is withered. It is gone. You obviously still have to go through these treatments and stuff like that. Get it, these traces out of your blood, whatever. And that still didn't convince me. It was, for me, oh, your body's working fucking overtime. Your immune system's real kick-ass. Congratulations for you. And the whole time she's praying, and I'm like, hey, fuck you. Because I still don't. I have no disrespect toward it.
Right.
I agree. Yeah.
But it's bizarre in the way that you have these two ideologies, my mother believing it and praying in silence, not letting any of us know. And then there's me, my sister. I don't know what my dad believes in currently. He grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. Sorry. So that's a whole fuck story.
Pretty hardcore.
Pretty hardcore. And
says the Catholic.
yeah, well, I think the difference there is that
there's a lot more proselytizing within Jehovah.
Yeah. And also, I don't think that there, and I could be wrong, there might be, but I think that in Catholicism, if you're a good person, you're going to heaven. Whereas in this, we'll fucking say quasi-religion of being a Jehovah's Witness.
Protestant is a great catch-all.
Yeah. There's only a handful. And I say handful because of the
chosen.
The chosen. Because of
Right.
the 8 billion people on the planet. There's only like fucking, what do they call it? Like 50,000, 100,000, whatever.
Interesting concept.
Yeah, whatever number that's from there to there.
Which wouldn't all of those slots get filled up by now?
Pretty much.
You would
Yeah.
think.
From the dawn of the religion's inception, it would be pretty full, pretty fucking fast.
Yeah.
So,
interesting loophole there.
Yeah.
So if you believe in that and you're a good person, you're not
that's a
going
good
anywhere.
point.
Yeah.
Correct, and it's a good loophole because you can always say, "I am one of those 50,000."
Yeah.
And then when you have someone say, "Oh, you're sick with cancer," you're sick with cancer, but you're not going to heaven, despite you being a good person. You're not chosen. I am. That's fucked up.
It's a shame that you were in that environment because you saw the worst sides of religion, where your
Oh, yeah.
mother was quiet about it,
Mhm.
and the only real side that you probably saw was your father's Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah, and the whole side of that family.
And so you saw people which fundamentally had a belief which literally just sowed people to be hateful to other people.
Terrible. And
To be the superior complex, like I said before.
I'm better than you because I'm chosen
Is
and you're
exactly.
not.
You
Yeah.
have a fundamental belief
And
in a system that says that I'm better than you because I just know somehow.
And that was sown into my very being very fucking early. I have always very staunchly been against the wider religion, the concept that, like you guys are saying, I'm better than you because I am this.
Right.
And it ingrained in me a sense of
You said whatever flavor of Christianity, I want nothing.
I want
I don't
nothing
want
to
anything
fucking
do
do
with it.
with it. I want
And
zero to do with it.
I understand, and that would make sense.
Yeah.
In that environment, and I'm sorry about that. That's terrible.
Yeah, it was fucking horrible.
It's to
and
see your parents you're supposed to look up to act so viciously and
Yeah.
disgusting to their fellow human being.
Yeah.
Well, it
Like,
it's
wasn't
terrible.
his parents.
Like,
it was like
yeah.
extended family.
Right, extended family. Sorry, yeah,
No, yeah, I
extended
know what you
family.
meant. And that extended for. I mean, it still extends. I
Yeah.
have a great bias toward religion,
Mhm.
and that's not toward people in the religion,
Right.
unless I have to.
Yeah, it's just the theologies of belief.
Yes. And I'm very tolerant of religions.
And unironic tolerance, folks, not this fucking bullshit stuff that the left says.
Right. I'm tolerant in the way that it doesn't affect me
Right.
until it does,
But
and
you
that's
don't-
when I have a problem with it.
But
Yeah.
you don't condone any negative behavior,
Oh, right.
especially
Correct.
in the name of religion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we call that blaspheming.
Yes.
And that stuff is serious. It's a mortal sin.
Correct.
I
Um,
know one thing that I did, especially in the moral principles that I've chose to establish for myself, is that whenever I was growing up, especially in the state of Alabama, at this point I was like over the age of like 15, 16, 17, right? I was like, oh, maybe I should try to let God back into my life. At this point,
It's hard to
I
do.
was still atheist, right? Still trying to establish who I was in this world and what I wanted to believe in. So I started going to these contemporary church, right? Really great church, in my opinion. It was fantastic. And then it became to a point where it was talking about ideologies that I, per se, just didn't agree with. And it was a Christian church, right? And it was like blasphemizing LGBT and all this other stuff, right? Just demonizing the hell out of it. And at the time, like, I was just sitting there and I was taking all this in. And I was like, I can't agree with this. Like I can't.
So
Like this is just
I
something
will
I can't
I will
do.
jump in here now. That wouldn't necessarily be blaspheming. Disrespecting or talking down or condemning, demonizing
That's
and
sure
stuff
as
like
hell
that
is what it felt like.
is
yeah.
blaspheming is for example invoking the name of God and doing something counter to what is
Using
morally right.
using God's name to justify shitty behavior, pretty much.
Yeah.
So on the point of bad things happening in the world, this world, and we had this discussion, Thursday, I think, or Friday, of why are there bad things happening in the world if God is so loving? It's because that everyone knows the story of Lucifer, right, falling from grace, taking a third of the angels with him. And when the phrase says that there are powers and principalities that rule over this world, it's a literal phrase, because powers and principalities are types of angels. So it's thought that Lucifer brought powers and principalities with him when he fell from grace. And there's a constant ongoing battle between demons and angels on earth. Demons are responsible for all the bad things that are happening. They are responsible for whispering that little bit into somebody's ear, say like, hey, go kill this person. Kill him. Do it right now. And they listen. They have fallen prey to sin and temptation and to their demons. Like when the people say, oh, he had some demons. It's not like a figurative speech.
They mean
it's
that
real.
literally.
And
It's
what,
real.
What if
Some
they use
people
that?
say it figuratively, but it's a very real concept. We have denied the existence of the metaphysical in our modern society, something that ancient people knew was true.
What if all of that can be summed up into schizophrenia? Why we deem some people schizophrenic is because they have a sixth sense.
Right.
For
That's
lack
a great
of
question.
for lack of better words.
And who knows? Maybe they are talking to demons. Maybe demons are trying to get in touch with them.
I mean, typically
here's
with
the
a
thing.
schizophrenic going through like a psychotic break, you see it all the time
Right.
of them saying that they've spoken to God.
Right.
Or that they've spoken to demons and angels.
And now it's very important to note that demons, Satan, will sort of present himself as God. So when we see, this is argued all the time against Christianity or Catholicism, is that you have all these crazy people who use the name of God, saying, God told me to go murder this group of people. Like, that wasn't God.
You
have fallen victim to being fooled by a demon.
I have two things in that concept, right? We have, I think, in my personal opinion, one of the neat little things about this is that, remember that guy who killed Dahmer while in prison and said it was God who told him to kill him?
Wrong.
Like, that was a thing. That was a
right,
thing that
and
happened.
that person was wrong.
And
morally, it probably was the right thing to do from a larger sort of gathering of what we consider to be correct in society.
Like, right.
But we also have to
tr-
remember that homie was already in prison.
Yeah.
And he was in the same place as
For
Jeffrey
a
Dahmer.
reason.
Isn't that like a cool little thing though? Is that he believed that God was giving him a sign.
And I tell you what I just said.
And then there's a flip-flop to that. The guy who killed Jeffrey Dahmer said that God did it, and the guy that killed a bunch of people named Son of Sam said that his dog told him to do it.
Yeah.
So we have a real paradox
he
here.
could have just been a dyslexic.
These are people.
That's fucking true. Yeah.
These are people who are falling victim to demons and being told to do what is fundamentally against what is right in our scripture, right?
Right.
And this is a very important thing, is we cannot seem to accept the fact that there might be something metaphysical out there that wishes to do us harm fundamentally. It's hard to believe. But this is something that is fundamental to the idea of Catholicism. Because this is the thing. Catholicism says, yes, demons are real. They exist. We have the story of Lucifer who took angels down from heaven with him. And now Jesus was quoted as saying that earth is his playground. Earth is the kingdom of Satan.
I'm going to take us on a little tangent for a moment, because me and Jeremy were talking about the simulation theory last night. And
that shit goes deep.
Personally, I really like the idea of there being different planes of existence. I think about that almost every day. And if you're thinking about it in the sense of that we're in a simulation and there's multiple planes of existence, and that's like code writing, so to speak, there could be an underlying written code of all of this metaphysical
And if you
energy
ask a physicist, we would call that the the grand universal theory, or the grand unifying theory, or the grand universal
and there's
equation.
a bunch of
like
different layers of energy and metaphysical matter and all of this stuff, and it's all interacting only in bits and pieces because we're not on the same plane, but we're close enough to just touch.
And you're
just
using
enough.
planes synonymous with dimensions.
Yes.
And
but not
to
necessarily
that point,
either.
and you say it was a tangent, it wasn't really a tangent at all, is a simulation implies the sense that somebody had to write the program.
Correct.
Which that was another thing that brought me back into this topic of religion when I was talking to Jeremy about how, what if that guy on the fucking keyboard over here,
that's who we refer to as God.
Yeah.
Because like I was telling you last night, when we broke it down real simple last night. When you're playing The Sims, you program with a click.
You're God.
You are. You input a personality into a little computer generated piece of energy. And then that piece of energy coexists with all of the other pieces of energy in that world. And then it just kind of opens up.
Here's a more interesting thing. You are a crueler form of God.
For sure. Because I can lock the fucking door and take out the windows.
Because not only that, but the Sims don't really have free will.
No, not in any capacity.
but I mean, if you're really thinking about it, do any of us?
Yes. Because if we completely deny the existence of free will, what's the point in prosecuting anybody for crimes?
There was a study, and I can't quite cite the year because I can't remember, but the study was done where they were asking these patients, these people, I don't know what the fucking word is. They're asking these people questions, and they're hooked up to a machine that reads their brainwaves.
EKG.
EKG, that's correct. There you go. And they're asking questions, and they're all blind questions. They have no idea. They're all random. And half a second before they answer, part of their brain fires. And that was the study's way to kind of suggest that we might not have free will, because your brain answers before you have time to even think.
Because the brain work, ergo we don't have free will.
Maybe.
Interesting. Interesting concept.
Maybe.
And because the issue with debating free will in this capacity is it draws some very serious ethical and moral questions to how we live in society.
And just to clarify, I fully believe that we have free will. I do all my shit.
No, it's a very great study.
Yeah,
I
that's
also
interesting
fully
study.
believe that we have free will as well.
No, I'm not shooting, but it's a very good study to bring up. Is that this is the thing? This is the thing that science doesn't seem to quite understand. And these scientists, Richard Dawkins, Neil deGrasse Tyson, is we are talking about something which largely exists metaphysically, something you cannot test.
Right.
But for example, can you test for love?
No.
Oh yes, well we have dopamine and release
you
and
can.
all this other stuff.
Yeah, love is
It's
just
like,
a tray of chemicals, essentially.
No, obviously you can test for love,
but not only
how
that,
can you describe it?
Not only that, it's also a concept.
That is all it is.
Why can we have something? Surely, there are these ramifications of a concept. Mathematics.
What do you mean?
Largely exists only in the conceptual.
Correct.
Are you going to spear a fish, take it out of the ocean, and see that it has 1 + 1 = 2 on the side?
No.
It is something that is fundamentally exists purely in the metaphysical. Without us, it would still exist.
We are just transcribing it in the way that the best way that we can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because mathematics alone leads to some sort of order that is inherent in this world, in this universe that we find ourselves in now.
Yeah.
Which coincides with the simulation theory, which I just add as another idea of argument for creation. It's like
it does circle back, because the people that might not believe in religion or God or spirituality, as we've discussed before, they go on this tangent about the simulation theory while completely avoiding the fact that someone has to fucking
Yeah.
Simulate it, dude.
Yeah.
like
And,
it's- someone has to start it somewhere.
And it's interesting because, religious people, Christians, have an answer for the Big Bang. What happened before? God created it.
A snap. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And you
what
say,
else
it was
to
like,
say.
well, that's...
and you go,
and you go,
well, what was
what-
before nothing?
Exactly. How do you get something from nothing?
You
Well,
can't.
for
Because
all we-
nothing inherently
It
means
is-
nothing.
It is something that is impossible.
Yeah.
There, in no instance in our universe do we see we get something from nothing.
But for all we know, the Big Bang Theory could have been someone snapping a
Him starting.
snapping a poppet in between their fingers.
Yeah. Or we look in Genesis, right, and we see what it says.
Let there be light.
Let there be light. And what do scientists agree is what was in the early form of the universe? The early universe was opaque.
Yeah.
It was full of light.
Yes.
That's interesting. And so we sit here and these scientists debate, and everything is so theological. You can either believe in religion, or you can just solely believe in literally anything else. You can believe in science, and that is the catch-all be-all. But there's always parts missing with science. And a person who was debating or talking to me, asking questions, mentioned science, and he says, I like science so much more because it changes with our understanding. I'm like, that's neat. That book hasn't changed in 2,000 years.
Here's a neat little thing, right?
Why is it something that needs to be changed over and over and over again when we learn something new is better than something that has remained the same for 2,000 years?
Here's a neat little thing, right? So obviously, I'm being agnostic as it is, right? I choose to be spiritual in a sense, right? And I obviously I don't believe in God, but I do believe in some sense of higher power, right? I still have this acknowledgeable fear, right? And this is my number one fear. There's no other fear that contradicts this. I have phasmophobia. Genuinely, I am
The fear of ghosts?
I am afraid of ghosts. I am afraid of
Well,
demons.
have I got some stories for you, champ?
No, I prefer not to.
So I want some questions which you had trouble with and why you left the faith or you refused. We kind of already grabbed you, which thank you for sharing. And I'll talk about some while you guys think of the questions. There was, the idea of pain, right, existing if there's a loving God. And I explained earlier that it is powers and principalities who are their only goal is to ruin you and bring you to hell. Okay? These, demons have a real hate because they themselves cannot reproduce. It is one of the most coveted things that a demon can have is humans' incredible ability to reproduce. They hate humans. Absolutely. So they want to cause as much pain as possible. They want to be that little thing on your ear, whispering, saying, hey, do all this crazy
like
shit.
hate. It's more so just take advantage of.
No,
Like,
it's hate. It's loathing.
it's insane in
They
itself.
hate you. They want to punish you.
to even fathom that this is even a thing. Like I'm obviously, like, as I stated before, I don't believe in any of this nonsense, and yet at the end of the day,
So why do you have fear then?
exactly, isn't that crazy to fathom?
I would take that as some sort of like something deep within you being like, hey man,
There's
you
a real
don't have all
contradiction
the-
taking place.
Yeah,
Because
you don't have.
It's hard to
you have
prove that you don't believe in any of it, and yet it's still real.
You have a deep inner conflict going on.
Yeah,
Something inside you is saying,
It's-
hey man,
it is.
something is there.
It is scary because I have had experiences where it's like, yep, nope, and Jesus, I genuinely do not like fuck with any of this nonsense. Like if I see any fathomable, what is it called, tangible evidence of it being existent, I tend to avoid it. Like that because
Are you
I
okay?
fear it.
So it's more or less. So if I were to prove to you, if I were to present you, if I were to like Christianity is true, Catholicism is true, God is real, would you become Christian?
No, I don't think I would.
So
See,
on that same vein,
that-
say that. So you don't believe in it.
Right,
That's
right.
fine.
That is.
I don't believe. She doesn't believe. You don't believe. However, I think that the confusion here is when you say that you're agnostic, it means that you believe in nothing. It doesn't mean that you're spiritual.
atheist. That's
Atheist.
atheism.
Atheism is where you believe in the higher power and you believe that it's not just one God, it may be all encompassing.
Now, my
so you guys have it flopped.
misconstrued. Yeah,
I have
you have it flopped.
agnostic is when you believe in a higher being. You don't know who it is necessarily.
Yes, you just need proof.
Correct. And atheism is when you
Atheism is the
completely-
complete denial of any existence
correct.
of God.
You completely deny the existence
But what
of a
you're
higher being.
but it's interesting. You have this fear, and
Exactly.
what you just said is the most interesting thing you said. Is
Exactly.
If you were to know that God is real, would you become a Christian today? And you said no.
I don't think I would. No.
Why?
So if you-
Because it goes back to what he
no,
said.
you have to sit there. If you had the definitive knowledge,
If I had the definitive knowledge
and
that
you
he
were
was
told
real,
that no, God is real, and he peeked out from the clouds, and you would still say no.
Because it goes back to exactly what you said. I would completely denounce him. After everything I've seen in this society,
Well,
in the
that's
world
not-
today,
I feel
that's you not having an understanding.
it's
of
not an understanding.
how the
I
world
would just
works.
refuse to
I would
believe that this
refuse-
individual exists.
I would refuse to worship him as a god,
Yep. There you
but
go.
I would not deny his existence. His
I-
existence was made well known to me in
right.
that.
on that,
Okay,
on that,
that's
we'll,
an answer.
We'll say on that platform, I don't worship anybody.
Right.
I don't worship a single person. I don't worship myself. I don't believe in myself higher than anyone else on this planet.
I believe in fate, and that's all I believe in.
I don't even believe in fate. I believe that you make your own.
Yep.
And I
that's cool.
believe that you, Brandon, you have decided to go down this path. Whether it is inherent in you, you decided to keep that path.
Right.
You have no real.
You have a face.
I have no ties to religion
right.
in
You have
any
no
capacity.
ties to this, but you in your own way have decided to go in your path. And same with you, having been religious, opted out, and then taken on something completely different. Whereas me, it's flat. I've never believed.
Yeah.
I've never been given the platform to be indoctrinated into believing.
Mm-hmm.
I've made my own mind up, and that is not fate. That's me.
Right,
I don't believe in fate. I will never.
and that's fate writes off free will,
correct.
and that's something that we all know is not true.
I mean, I feel like fate in itself does give you free will. I just believe fate.
How?
has-
Fate is
would be
Fate means that you are on a path.
predetermined.
Yeah.
that
I
means that
do-
you're
I-
gonna go here.
That's what I'm saying.
no. If you mean that fate isn't you're going to die at some point, then that's just a truth, not necessarily fate. Fate is literally, as in the Greek mythology,
Like
point
you're on
of
a
view,
Hot Wheels
is
track.
that your life, everything about your life.
Everything is already pre-written, and then
Yeah,
everything
no.
gets snipped away.
No.
I genuinely believe in
Yeah,
that.
well,
I
that's
really do.
completely
It's okay.
and completely, nothing.
I feel like fate
that
is
we
a
see in
thing
real
that
life.
we have in ourselves. That everything is pre-written.
So
Whether
then why?
we like to
So then
believe
I
it or
have
not.
a question. Then why give a single flying shit about anything in life? Oh, then you just write it off as like, oh well, this is fate. This is why I'm living in a
Well,
Yeah,
caring,
studio
genuine-
apartment
caring is part of the fate.
with shit.
Yeah,
right.
Genuinely,
And
what you
what a
just
cop
said
out.
is exactly what
What a
fate
cop
is.
out! What a cop out!
I know it sounds
of-
like a cop
of
out, but that is what
of
fate
everything
is. That
that
is
you
what
can have.
fate
You
is.
actually
Maybe-
have control in your life.
Maybe it's internalized a different way than it is being vocalized.
Maybe.
Because those are hard things to
No,
vocalize. Those
what
are
it
hard
sounds
things
like-
to make tangible.
What it sounds like is somebody who doesn't feel they have control over their own life.
Maybe, and that might be
That's what it
might
sounds
be accurate.
That's solid.
Is that accurate? Is
That's,
that accurate?
I think that's solid. I think the way he described it makes sense, and the way you say it is the more realistic answer.
And I wish that you would eventually come to see that you actually have control over your life.
I think everyone has control of their own
So
life.
then,
but I
how the hell could you have fate?
because here I am copying out, being like, "Oh, it's fate pre-writing everything that I'm
no,
saying."
to me, fate is like when something's like when somebody makes a stupid decision, and they go, "Oh, it was fate." It's like, no, dude, you just made a dumb decision.
Bro,
Correct.
what's
So-
crazy is like you can stare at me right now and tell me, "Oh, Oscar, you did some dumb things." I know I did dumb things, but it's crazy because it's like I'm pretty sure fate had it all planned out
like
that
you
I
were
did all these
like you
dumb
were
things
meant
Again.
to do those
Yeah,
things.
and then
Again.
learn from them and
It's for the
establish
it's for
myself
the
as a human
plot.
being.
It's all
Well,
for the plot.
It's all I have plot armor, Brandon.
Then every murderer needs to be exonerated because it was fate that predetermined
no,
everything.
it's fate that he got the death sentence.
It's
Fuck
it's
Ted Bundy.
it's
No.
fate,
I don't
it's
know what
fate
to
that
tell
that
you.
guy's in prison.
Here's
I
the
guess.
thing.
It's like that's
So-
not how the world works.
When we're talking about free will and fate, they go into a lot of different facets in this conversation because about 8 months ago, maybe a year ago, Jess and I were having a conversation about one of her friends, and I didn't agree with something that her friend sad
Right.
in the way that she was feeling. And I truly, from the depths of me, I believe that emotions aren't real.
It was an I can't versus an I won't
I can't
situation.
versus an I won't. Feelings aren't real. I don't think that you can tell yourself that you can't. I don't think, or a reword, I don't think that you should. Because you can, with exception, mentally, do whatever you fucking want to.
Which I feel
Sure.
like
You can.
I feel like you and I can agree with that. Anyone can really do anything.
It's true. Anyone
And
truly...
this isn't like this
The
isn't like a
contradiction
no, this,
of what fate is.
this
no,
this
it's
isn't
not.
like a conversation about like I can't drive this car because I've been drinking or like something
Right.
stupid like that. It was like I can't stop feeling this way or I can't
And
right.
the
do
crux
this.
is, yes, you can.
Yeah.
You just do it. And
Yeah.
the thing is these people that you were referring to, I can't remember which one you said it, these murderers,
Mhm.
they chose to do that.
Yeah.
You might be mentally ill, mentally incompetent, and there are parts of you that say don't do it, and then there's a part of you that says, fuck yeah, kill that person.
Right.
And it's up to you to go, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Because you know what? All of us have fucked up thoughts. You, me. We
Right.
all have fucked up thoughts. I'm inherently a pretty fucking vocal person. I'm a pretty violent guy.
The warehouse is a hoot.
The warehouse is a hoot. Earlier, I said that I would wear a dog as a shoe.
Yeah.
And then string a kid up and use his head as a punching bag if he touched my kid. And I would. But those are things that I don't do because
right.
I go, no thanks.
You would be thinking about how you would do it as you're staring viscerally into the kid's face.
Correct.
Isn't it
waiting
crazy
for the parent to
how, like,
handle
at the
it.
same time?
And if they don't, then you can beat the shit out of the parent.
say it as
Correct.
if it's a cop out, but it's like
No,
genuinely
so
how
here's
it
this.
is.
Okay, let me be absolutely fundamentally clear. Fate. I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna ask if you agree with it.
Okay.
Okay. Fate is the concept that despite actions, despite anything you do, everything is predetermined. So there's nothing you can change. Do you agree with this?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. And in the
So-
same vein, can you do whatever you want?
I do feel like you can do whatever you want.
The reason
That is a
that's,
contradiction.
The reason
No,
that that's
it's not.
the reason that that is contradictory, and we'll break it down like the Greek do, or yeah. So you say you're born and you immediately have a string, and that is your fate. You go from the top to the bottom or bottom to the top.
Right.
That path is chosen for you. You are on that path, and if you deviate, you can't, because everything that you do is written in stone.
Right.
It can't be changed.
Exactly.
So what you're
including
saying,
what you say,
including what
do,
you say,
Precisely.
Everything about your life.
everything.
So
Everything.
what you're saying, and the reason that it's a contradiction is because you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have fate, and you also can't have free will. Those things don't exist.
Yes, you
together.
cannot.
They're not tied
They
together.
are
and
contradictory ideas. They are fundamentally different.
unless
Correct.
your
It's-
idea of fate is that at the end of the rope
Right.
is that's the only part that is written in stone
Right.
is what is the end goal.
I think everything is written in stone. So,
But
as
you
he,
then again-
so you
as he
cannot
deems-
have free will.
as he deems as a cop out is everything that I say, everything that I do is written in fate.
If
no
it's
matter
if it's
what.
written
How?
in
And
stone,
if
then
you
that's a
can
cop
change
out.
your life. How is it that you
There
can
is
do
no
that
changing.
and do whatever
Everything
you want?
that I think that I'm actually changing is actually something that's already
It's
been
part.
proven.
It's already written in
But
stone,
in
which
that
means
same
that
vein,
you have
you can
no
do whatever
free
you
will.
want. And we're meaning this in the fundamental,
like
thing.
literal sense.
like literal sense, like that nothing is stopping you from doing anything in the world.
So when I say that I have free will, I don't actually have free will since it's already predetermined and already pre-written.
So what
Yes.
you're saying
So
is
you
that
need to say that you fully believe in fate and that people do not have the faculties to change their life. Everything is predetermined and you cannot do whatever you want to change your life. It is just determined. So when somebody asks you, is you believe you can do whatever you want and you believe in free will, you have to say no. If you really, truly believe in fate.
I mean, I truly believe in free will, but
'Cause
I also
people-
truly depend. Like, isn't that crazy to
There-
fathom?
there is no
it
fate
is.
in
It
free
is really
will.
crazy to fathom because I believe the
Because
sky
it's
is
not
blue, but I also
possible.
believe it's yellow.
No, because I actually believe it's fucking blue. Like,
Right.
that's
well, the
just-
sky is in fact
Is
not
in
blue.
fact-
So
If we're gonna go in
This is
depth,
the-
no,
it's
it's not actually blue.
It's actually a bunch of hues.
It's actually not. If we wanted to be technical, no, it's not actually blue.
So this is it's a great conversation.
It's super fantastic.
What I'm telling you is that everybody else you would say that to would be like, what?
Yeah,
you can't have both.
It ends up being contradictory.
Have you-
You understand that now?
Yeah, no,
And you're fine with that.
Yes,
So-
I'm fine with it.
So that means then that if you believe in fate and free will simultaneously, then there is a paradox deep inside you that is
Yes.
and that's
It's honestly something more psychological.
it is
Because
I have been deemed clinically insane.
because I
It's
feel
okay.
like in your current situation, right, in your current environment, the life that you've had right now, you feel as though that nothing has been in your control